Carrie Geren Scoggins Political Newsletter, Bible Prophecy Times Edition Update. Government offices stirring up fear against Christians are practicing coercion, as it is stigmatizing a religious group and stirring up fear against them. They are a protected class under religion. Law enforcement, government agencies, federal offices, and the military cannot stir up fear and suspicion against the Christians. This violates their civil liberties. If someone feels victimized by such actions, or they see government agencies or offices or officers committing these acts, record the conversations, record their speeches, make copies of their memos, get evidence for court. It was noted that some federal law enforcement agencies had even handed out memos saying that Christians were to be considered suspicious, that they were on a watch list to be surveillanced, especially those that actually believed the Bible and took it literally. Went on to elaborate in their discrimination. They were so used to walking all over Christian civil liberties, violating Christian civil rights, and openly espousing their discriminatory opinions against the Christian church in the various denominations. They literally handed out memos throughout law enforcement and other law enforcement agencies, stirring up fear and ignorance against the Christian denominations. This is called coercion and is abuse of a public office. It violates separation of church and state in that the state cannot demonize any religious group or religious belief, nor can they condone such. In the case of Christianity, no Christian religious group, faction, or denomination can be demonized by state employees, state offices, or government in general. It also violates separation of church and state for government agencies, officers, or government employees to attempt to condemn any aspects of any particular Christian religious faith as too radical or as extremist. This is discrimination. These are discriminatory acts. No government entity can go into the churches and tell them what doctrines they're allowed to preach and teach. That would violate the separation of church and state in keeping the state out of the church and the church's doctrines. Nor does the state have a legal right to step in and claim that a certain religious group or faction of the Christian faith was too radical or extremist, as these actions would be a blatant attempt by government to come into the churches and criminalize certain teachings. We saw as the hate speech laws were overturned in the federal Supreme Court, that wall of separation of church and state, keeping the state out of the church and stopping anti-Christian censorship, and the federal Supreme Court upholding our legal rights to debate the issue, was determining that the United States will continue to have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. The federal Supreme Court has also upheld the Christian's legal right to adhere to Christian, quote, core values, as well as their legal right to proselytize their faith, spreading the gospel without censorship. As our founding fathers opened and closed every session, making our laws in prayers to God while they were standing on government lands and at the time they were government employees, as well as their documented over 15,000 quotes from the Bible while making our laws in government sessions. This is not a freedom from religion, and our federal Supreme Court did not find a freedom from religion. Therefore, in the United States, there is no freedom from religion and tolerance, religious tolerance, is expected when Christians openly and freely speak about their faith. The act of any government agency, any government employee, stirring up fear and ignorance against the Christian faith, causing people to accuse them or feel that they should be surveillanced or policed, or to have their beliefs criminalized in any way, is religious discrimination. It violates separation of church and state. It is abuse of a public office by definition, and of course is coercion. These acts are illegal. If any government entity is sending out these anti-Christian memos, save a copy of the memos and get proof for court for a religious discrimination suit and possible anti-Christian hate crimes being carried out by government employees. Make sure to expose anti-Christian discrimination to the media